Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. It is March 18th, Friday, March 18th, and that means we bring on Mr. Stephen Dow. How you doing, sir?
Fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Do me a favor, do that marketing spiel to get it out of the way because I have an important topic for us to discuss.
You got it. So again, although I work very happily for Velocity Mortgage Capital, all the ideas and topics discussed on this channel are that of my own. So let's get it going.
Yeah, so what I want to talk about here is something I don't think you and I have talked about. Frankly, I don't know that I've talked about it with any investors, maybe Anna Kelly once a year or so ago. And that is how the rich or the well-off or whatever you want to call them look at debt. They look at it very differently than the middle class, than the poor. So and it really is a tool. And I thought, given someone who's been in the lending business for a decade or so, more than a decade, that you've seen people use debt well and use debt badly. Is that a fair assumption?
Oh, 100%. I mean, just depends on, I guess, the individual. You see it in the track record as far as their credit report. It normally shows, higher leverage, maybe a few, missed payments, 30-day late here and there, but just a lot of accounts that are a lot, higher than typically 80% of the higher, balance. But and then you also see wealthy, I would say, versus rich people making the right moves, utilizing dead money, and then just reallocating, debt really. So it really, you just can tell from the beginning as far as like the ones that are using the money the right way. They've got a nice healthy portfolio, credit's good, a lot of money in the bank. I mean, they don't have to make moves, just, you know what I mean? So, and typically they get really good deals too, because you're looking like, how do they, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I've noticed now, the last 3 or 4 years, we start to run in different circles, right? And there's a couple of things I just want people to realize. First and foremost, the big thing about people with money and the ability to access debt is they're not in a rush to use it. So what do I mean by that?
Right.
So they want to go get a new car. They want to go do this. They want to go do that. Most of them believe, I think it was Jay-Z had a song, if you can't buy it twice for cash, don't buy it. I think that was a Jay-Z song.
Right.
But that is definitely how they feel. Like I remember it was 3 or 4 years ago, a buddy of mine who's worth 8 figures plus, plenty of cash flow, right? Lives below his means, all of that. He was going to go buy his dream car, and he could write a check 10 times over.
Right.
And he was offered, I think it was 0.9% interest or something. And he's like, for most of us or most people looking at that, they probably go, oh, absolutely, I can earn more of that, this, that, and the other. He's like, I didn't want the debt. So he wrote the check. So it's just a different mindset, because what he said is the car, he knew it was a toy. It was depreciating. And he frankly didn't want to write that monthly check. So I thought that was interesting. What do you think?
Well, they make the right moves with the I would say assets, because again, the equity in the property, you could, misuse it. Like with anything, it's just a tool. So this all depends on user error, or if they're making the right, fiscal moves. So yeah, I would say that was be 100% correct. But that's where their consistent behavior has gotten to where they've gotten, you know what I mean? So one step in front of the other, making the right moves would lead to the right results typically.
Yeah.
So
the other thing I've seen, and you probably see this a lot, is the rich or the wealthy, they're not, and I repeat, not in a rush to over leverage.
No, because they don't have to.
Yeah. And well, also they want safety, right? I mean, real estate investing, I've been doing it 20 some odd years, and it goes through cycles. And when it's in an up market, max leverage wins, because it bails you out. The rich, the wealthy, the 8-figure people I run in circles with now, they're not in a rush. They're like, I'm good, 70%, 65, because not only do they have my experience of the last crash, but some of them have the history from the 80s, right? They've been doing this a long time. So max leverage feels good. And they're like, many of them will say that that's the only way they can bust out. is if the market goes against them, they have max leverage. They don't have any margin of safety. So I think a lot of new beginners get excited. They get a couple deals under their belt and they're like, max leverage, 90% LTV, 90%, 95, 90. Give me a second. Give me 100. Give me 103. And then they bust out when the market turns. So I would say the rich or wealthy are not interested in max leverage, at least most of the time. What do you think?
No, they're typically lower LTV, you know, because they can make the right moves. Because typically at a lower LTV, you'll get the best rate, the best terms, lower costs. So across the board, yeah, they're making smart moves. Because again, like you said, they don't have to make moves unless it's the right, like you said, not good, but great, you know, deals. Yeah. And so that's where I think the wealthy separate from, you know, the rest of them, because they're just making great deals typically.
Yeah. And then the last thing I've seen, and it's actually what you helped me with, was we're not afraid of using debt as a tool. And more importantly, we're not afraid to sign up early, right? We know that the real estate market moves in cycles, but so does the lending market. So what did you do for me? You took apartments and office buildings and gave me 30-year money. And we talked about it on the channel. So I, you know, hopefully people listened and executed. But again, I always an open book, right? I was willing to wait 2 years to have this liquidity to deploy it, right? So
I was gonna say you're like the Caucasian Al Roker of financial weather, because you basically just say, hey guys, here's what's coming, here's what I'm doing for it. I'm prepping, and then boom, the storm's here. And look what I got my umbrella. Look, I told you it's gonna rain. I told you it's coming. So, but now I think you're sitting pretty because you got in right when you knew the cyclical, you know, we're at the bottom, guys. I can't believe it. 30-year fix, 399. What on you know, office? What are you talking about? So no, it still can happen. It just depends on the situation. You just got to do the numbers. And if the cap rates and everything else work out, 30-year fixed money is still really good for, you know, on commercial again. So we're still seeing a pretty healthy amount of business, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, if I was coming into this now and I'd missed that, I would still execute it today. It's just that's what I want people hearing this is, if you have a plan, do I really care if it was 3.99 or 5.6? Obviously lower is better. But if I have a plan for what I see is coming, and I had hundreds of thousands of dollars in dead money, and I think rates will be significantly higher in a year or two, I would still execute my plan today. If we didn't do that office building and apartments, whatever that was 6 or 9 months ago, I would start today, because I think in a year, non-QM money's 7. So why not get it? Why not get it in the 5s? 5 is, just in case you don't know, 5 is better than 7.
Well, yes, agreed.
So again, what I'm trying to say is the rich or wealthy or the well-to-do, they have a plan, they'll execute it. They don't mind being early. And again, we're very clear, at least I was, if I don't find a deal in 2 years, maybe 2.5, I'll just pay you off. I'm like, okay, here you go. So again, I think the rich use debt as a tool. We don't chase rates. We make a decision on what they are right now. We don't have a memory, right? What does it does me, if I'm sitting here today with another refi, it does me no good to bitch about 399 or 45 or 5. The time's over, right? I got to deal with what they are today. So again, I think a lot of investors out there who are sitting on dead money, I think they're now starting to see that the market's going to get good, right? I just talked about today on the daily financial news, sales were down 7.2%. Folks, the slowdown is coming. And let me just tell you this one last thing. We'll wrap up episode 1. You want to get the money when the lending is good. You don't want to wait until you find a deal and then the banks won't lend to you. It happens all the time.
All the time.
So if you have dead money or equity and you're still making moves, right? You're early in your career, at least consider it. Reach out to Stephen Dow, see what's what, see what he can do for you. How do you want them to do that?
sdow@velocitymortgage.com. Please put in the subject line just the acronym ORAAT, which stands for one rental at a time. The body of the email, possibly the property type, brief description of the scenario, your mid-FICO score, desired terms, best phone number to reach you at. And typically, within 24, 48 hours, I'll be able to give you a call back, trying to make it realistic. I was trying to call everybody at the same time, and it's just not able to in certain situations, just getting overflow. But Yeah, in many situations, people forget to put just that in the subject line, and then they get lost in the,
Yeah.
quarantine, and then I feel bad. I'm like, oh, sorry for the delay. And they're like, hey, that
Yeah.
one passed, but we'll call you on the next one. So apologies for that. But
Yeah, what I would
it'll
tell
be-
people to do in the subject line is literally, you don't put anything else. Don't put hello, just put subject line, 5 letters, ORAAT.
Yep,
That's it.
that's it.
That's all you put.
Yep.
Everything else put in the
That's like
body of the email. Thanks, buddy. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
My pleasure.